This is Tom Fox. Welcome to the newest edition in the Compliance Podcast Network, my latest podcast, Compliance and Coronavirus. As the voice of compliance, I wanted to start a podcast which will help bring both clarity and sanity to the field of compliance, the compliance practitioner, and indeed the compliance profession during this worldwide health and healthcare crisis. Taking up a variety of topics as diverse as working from home to sporting events, to the role of the board of directors, to crisis management, to the role of supply chains. We will look at all of these in this podcast. If you have a topic you'd like covered on compliance and coronavirus, please let me know. I'd be happy to do a podcast on it. Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode. And today I have with me David McLaughlin. He is the founder and CEO at QuantaVerse. I've had David on in the past because he has an extraordinarily cool set of tools. But today I wanted to visit with him about the current coronavirus health crisis and economic downturn and some of the things that he and QuantaVerse is hearing from his customers and perhaps some of the advice he's giving. So, David, with that incredibly long-winded introduction, first of all, thank you for taking the time to visit with me and welcome back.
Tom, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me again.
So what are some of the top questions that you are fielding from your client base at this point in time as we begin to reopen the economy literally across the country?
Yeah, most of the questions that we're getting directed to us from our customers have been about the work, the work that that the platform does to support their businesses. So, we've driven a great deal of automation to our customers and their compliance departments, but not all of them have adopted the capabilities. Not all FIs have adopted the capabilities, and our customers haven't even adopted the same sort of levels of automation that the platform offers. So, most of those questions are about what else can you do to support our business during this time. Like, for example, we have a customer that, really struggled with having to spend time each month finding missing country codes that were part of their international wires. They would have an employee literally spend 3 days Google searching entities to try to find out where they were if they weren't in the transaction. And so, they had to struggle with that. So they used just that piece of our capability to automate that derivation of country code. And now they're coming back to us and saying, okay, that's working great. And that's saved a bunch of time and effort for us that we can point elsewhere. What other sort of entity profiling capabilities that you all have that we can take advantage of and lead to a better understanding of the entities that we're transacting for? And in a similar vein, we have customers that are just availing themselves of our adverse media capabilities. They, as they do adverse media in their investigations, they have to, again, go out, Google search, try to find the entities, read the articles, determine whether the entity that they're looking for is the bad guy. So we've automated that collection and sentiment analysis. So now the analyst, the investigator, is given that information without having to spend time searching and reading, and then they can just evaluate. And so, organizations that have taken advantage of that know about our entity profiling are asking to put those together and creating entity risk scores that, is completely automated. And we actually came upon the idea of our investigator contingency solution when a customer told us that they weren't ready to automate the entire investigation yet. So just the organization was not there to do that, but they wanted the ability to have that capability on the shelf and be able to turn it on at an immediate notice in case they got into a situation where they were not able to keep up with alert volume. So again, just some examples. They're really asking us about what additional things that we can do to help them manage shortages and overflows in this time.
David, as you know, many of my listeners come from the anti-corruption compliance space. And one of the things that the Department of Justice has made clear in that space is that your obligations to continue to resource your compliance program, your obligations to continue to document your compliance program are ongoing during this. Even if the economic downturn negatively impacts your company, you still are under obligations to meet the spirit and the letter of the law regarding compliance programs. Do you find that to be true for financial institutions as well?
Oh, completely. Yeah. We work both in the bribery and corruption and the AML space, and the FIs that are utilizing our platform for AML have gotten that exact message from their regulators as well. As a matter of fact, the FFIEC, FinCEN has told them that they are still accountable for all the work that they need to get done to manage this risk and this compliance effort. They've shown some leniency about timing of reporting, but they have been very clear on the requirement to continue to report these potential risks.
David, another concern that I've tried to articulate is that if you have a violation today, and that violation percolates along, and at some point you have an enforcement action or a regulator comes knocking, and that point is 2, 3, 4, even 5 years down the road. And if you don't have sufficient documentation, the regulator's not going to say, well, that was Q2 2020, and we all know what happened. They're going to expect that documentation. Would that also be true in the regulated financial institution space?
Oh, definitely. There's clear guidelines on what that reporting needs to be, and even if an alert is created that is determined not to be a risky event and does not need to be SAR'd, they have to document why that decision was made and keep that for any future audits. So yeah, that reporting and that investigation work and that recording work doesn't go away, and it's just smart to keep that information as well to be able to support in future audits that you were doing things correctly and thoughtfully and attempting to minimize the risk of any criminal activity being facilitated and support reporting it to government so that they can use that for investigations and doing the law enforcement work that they need to do.
David, and once again in the ABC space, I find this point in time to really be an inflection point around the use of technological solutions to facilitate a best practices compliance program. And I was wondering, from your perspective in the AML space, what are some of the types of solutions that you are either advising your clients on or that you are seeing them bring to bear at this point? And is that sort of increasing or gathering speed?
Yeah, so we are big believers in automating the things that humans aren't necessarily well attuned for and great at. Things like big volumes of data, sorting through that volume of data, being able to find the important pieces within that huge data set, and then putting all of that together into a complete picture of what is going on with those transacting parties. And in that case, humans our minds aren't wired to do that as well as computers can do it. Now, what humans can do very well, obviously, is interpret that, apply judgment to that, use their training and their experience to understand the nuances around those things. And that's where we're encouraging organizations to automate the former and then free up the investigators and enable the investigators to do what it is that they're very good at with the later. So yes, we are delivering automated investigation tools both in the ABC and the AML space to enable that that work and create the efficiencies and make the overall process of an investigation more complete, more thoughtful, better analytics around it, better insights around it. Just the entire process is able to improve when you automate those parts of the investigation.
David, I was wondering if you could give a few words about the QuantaVerse Alert Investigator and how really at this point in time, this can be a very powerful tool for obviously people in the financial services and financial industry, but perhaps in the broader corporate world as well.
Sure. So the Alert Investigator tool is something that we have developed to match a best practice investigation from the time an alert is kicked off from a detection engine. We are able to take that. Our platform is able to take that alert and walk through. There's generally about 7 steps in a best practice, starting with validating whether that alert is in fact a risk, all the way to identifying the beneficiaries of the transactions, i.e., where the money went, who is the ultimate beneficiary of that transaction to see if that indicates risk, and multiple steps in between, including profiling the entities and adverse media and looking at network analysis. Multiple steps inside that best practice investigation is something that has been proven can be done by a machine, by computers, and done very well, and done in a quick manner with limited capacity, if no capacity that a human would bring to it, no capacity constraints that a human might bring to it, and again, deliver reporting and insights and narratives or pre-written narratives or computer-written narratives that the investigator can then use to make a final decision. So, yeah, we've shown, it's been shown that both in the ABC as well as the AML space that automation can be done brought to bear on investigation. And again, what we have developed recently is a contingency plan for those organizations that aren't really ready to adopt that level of automation inside their investigations, but due to COVID and your point at the beginning of this, the ongoing crisis with the coronavirus, they want to make sure that they're capable and have a backup plan in the event that their human workforce is no longer able to keep up with their alert volumes. And so we have packaged that into a investigator contingency offering that they can, with a little bit of work up front and minimal costs up front, they can get an environment in place that with the flip of a switch, they could begin porting our Alert Investigator alerts to our Alert Investigator solution to automate that and cover for any investigator shortfall.
So, David, unfortunately, we are near the end of our time, but I was wondering if anyone wanted more information or, frankly, the just plethora of resources that you have made available and QuantaVerse has made available. How could they find out more and where can they go?
Well, sure. Our website is loaded with information. Very easy website, www.quantaverse.net. One of the things that I would highlight to them that is available that they can take advantage of is a draft of a business continuity plan specific for the pandemic. The FFIEC has stated that organizations are now required to plan for pandemic, and that means absent employees for an extended period. And most organizations don't have that in their business continuity plans. And so we have created a draft of a BCP pandemic plan document that they can insert into their existing BCP plans and make it very easy for them.
David, I hope that I could perhaps call upon you as we move into Q3 and Q4, and I would say anticipate the questions, but given how 2020 has gone, I can't anticipate that, but at least maybe visit about where we are later in the year and where we may be going forward. So thank you again.
Happy to, and stay safe and healthy.
Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox again. I'd like to thank you for listening to this episode of Compliance and Coronavirus. This podcast posts 3 times a week at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of each week. That's 10 a.m. Central Time. I hope you will check out our episodes as we post during this health crisis and economic dislocation. This month on The Compliance Life, I'm featuring Ryan Robillé, who talks about his journey to the CCO chair. I hope you'll join me for another episode of Compliance and Coronavirus, where I bring clarity and sanity to the business executive and compliance professional around these most serious issues.